In this week's study guide, I hope to unpack and then resynthesize some of the topics we've been discussing. In particular, I want to draw your attention to your own prior knowledge and any misconceptions you might have about these topics. I'll start with the concepts themselves of prior knowledge and misconceptions. Then I'll address ADDIE, outcome types, and performance objectives. Recall the students in the video we watched. For many of us, the degree to which the 9th grade students and the Harvard grads held misunderstandings about the seasons was shocking. For some of us, it was more shocking that we held the same wrong notions about how the seasons are affected by the Earth's rotation. So what does that mean about prior knowledge and misconceptions? I think it's helpful to remember that prior knowledge is not a collection of true facts. Prior knowledge is more the meaning we make or the understanding we have from the information we receive and the experiences we have. Another way to think about this is that prior knowledge is a collection of personal theories we develop about how the world works. Some of our theories are rich, based on lots of experience and solid evidence. Some are immature, and some are faulty. If we look at prior knowledge in this way, then learning is a process of building onto and improving these personal theories. If this is so, then misconceptions are an important component of learning. You might even say that learning is the process of reshaping misconceptions. Let's turn to your prior knowledge. Think about how you've learned to design instruction or plan lessons. Many of you have been trained to plan instruction using a backwards design. That's a method that starts at the end goal, the learning objectives or the assessment, and works backward, if you will, to plan the learning activities to meet those goals and assessments. While the methods I'm stepping you through have many similarities to backwards design, there are some critical differences. In ADDIE, the first stage, analysis, starts with needs assessment, and that comes before identifying objectives or learning assessment. As we've talked about, instructional designers use student performance data, research literature surveys, and consultation with content experts to gain an understanding of the instructional problem, the learner, the context, the subject matter, the resources, etc. By the end of this week, you will have conducted some form of research and reflected and then articulated on your portfolio what your findings are under the needs assessment section. Even if this step is unfamiliar to you, don't shortchange it. It's important, especially if you're creating curriculum from scratch, as you are in this case. Another source of potential confusion is the focus on assessment-driven objectives. In my own training, there was much emphasis on writing measurable performance objectives. And I agree that objectives need to be aligned to assessment. Being able to construct a well-aligned and informative performance objective is an important skill that you'll practice this week as you identify the objectives for your mini-course learners. However, assessment-driven objectives can have serious problems. When we write an objective with an eye to how we'll know that students achieve it, we risk choosing objectives that are easily measurable. You know the ones. Those that can be tested with a multiple choice test. This type of objective does not reflect the myriad of skills and knowledge that we want our students to gain. These objectives may not lead to teaching and learning for deep understanding and mastery. For this reason, I've asked you to first consider the types of knowledge you want your students to have. If you start there, then align your performance objectives and your assessment strategies with those outcomes. You help to ensure that your instruction will be important and meaningful. There are many different ways to look at outcome types. In Module 4, I went into some detail in the study guide about 3 different taxonomies or categorizations of outcome types. Each approach has value and also limitations depending upon what you want to teach. As you consider the outcome types you want for your mini course, you can mix and match and draw from the different taxonomies or even one that I haven't mentioned. Scartamalia and Breiter have the simplest taxonomy. They distinguish between 3 types of knowledge, that is, knowledge about, deep knowledge of, and knowledge how to. If you consider the other taxonomies, Gagne's and Bloom's, you'll see that knowledge about is similar to Bloom's lower order skills of recall and understanding. Deep knowledge of is similar to Bloom's higher order thinking skills. Knowledge how to, similar to Gagne's psychomotor skills, but it might also include non-physical procedures. Knowing how to do something on the computer, for instance, is not really a psychomotor ability. Many of you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, which distinguishes 6 different intellectual skills or thinking skills. We often separate the lower order skills of remembering and understanding from the higher order skills of applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Gagne's taxonomy has 5 types, and his list adds 2 that aren't mentioned by Scartamalia and Breiter or Bloom. The 2 he adds are cognitive strategies and attitude. Cognitive strategies are the skills one uses to learn. You may be surprised to consider having attitude as an explicit, desired outcome for our instruction. In fact, when we teach math, don't we do so in ways that will change students' attitudes, both about math and about themselves? When we teach about bullying or cultural differences, we want our students to demonstrate appreciation, sensitivity, and positive choices. These all fall into the attitude category. If you teach teachers about problem-based learning, one outcome might be that your students, the teachers, choose to use problem-based learning in their classroom because their attitude about it has changed. One more set of categories that we've read about comes from Larson and Lockheed's textbook. In addition to knowledge, attitude, and skills, which we've now covered in the other taxonomies, they contribute interpersonal skills. Their rationale is that in the changing social and economic context, people need skills for communication and collaboration. So what types of learning do you hope your mini-course learners will gain from your course? Make sure your objectives are aligned to your desired outcomes. That's it for this week. Remember, if in doubt, ask.